Hi everyone, I'm Dr.Animaction, and because it came up in the comments section of the animated 80s summary and ranking, I thought I'd put out a quick bonus video this week that looks at whole on-air lineups for each year instead of just premieres. My only caveat on this one is that these are just network broadcast series, or series in wide syndication, so if you think you see something is missing, it may have been aired regionally. Also, variety shows aren't broken down here by segments unless each segment ran full 30-minute episodes. Last note on this video, I'll be ranking based on my current perspective on the year with the advantage of both hindsight and nostalgia. Make sure to like and subscribe if you're a fan of all things animated, and let's jump right in. So here's a rundown of what premiered in 1980, which I had ranked at 9 in the original video. Breaking Force 5 out into its component series and the Scooby-Doo Richie Rich show out into its separate series gave me a total of 17 shows for the year. Here's what we have if we look at everything on the air, increasing that lineup to 33. That definitely makes 80 seem beefier than it was in the ranking video. Now out of those 33, here's what I personally care about, giving me a lineup of 15. These lists of the series I care about don't mean I don't like anything that I left off of it, it's just that these are the most important series of the year for me for ranking purposes. I'll show you all each of these 3 categories for every year in the decade, and then I'll do a ranking rundown at the end. So let's check out 1981. Like last year, here are the 81 premieres, with 30-minute series like Zorro and Dinky Dog broken out, giving 16 shows. I'll leave variety shows on as well if they contain additional content, like the Kid Super Power Hour did. Now here's what things look like for the full on-air lineup, expanding that list up to 36. Of those, these 17 shows are specifically the ones I care about. Not too bad, though like I said in the ranking, the Force 5 shows had a limited release, so keep that in mind. This one got 8th place in my original ranking. Now we all remember 1982, and here are the premieres for the year. Just 13 shows. Even the full on-air lineup isn't terribly impressive, only boosting that number to 24. And out of those, I really only care about 9 of them. Not to mention that the Pac-Man Little Rascals Richie Rich show is only here because of Pac-Man. So 1 1/3 of this year's new shows are anything I was/am interested in. This year was my original bottom of the barrel, but we'll see if this expanded lineup bumps it up at all. But then we get to 1983, which got the bronze medal in my original ranking with much more impressive roster of 23 premieres, including some great shows. Expanding that view to check out the full roster gives us 39 series. And when I break that down, I find myself caring about 13 of them, most of which are new from this year. That makes 83 a pretty strong year of the ones we've looked at so far, considering the quality of what I've got here on this particular screen. Is that going to be enough to keep it up where it was in my original ranking? We'll see at the end. Things keep getting bigger in 84 with a total of 26 new releases. And yes, I'm considering G.I. Joe as a new release in 83, 84, and 85 because 83 and 4 were more mini-series events than full series. This one was number 4 in the previous video. When I bring in the full list, we get a total of 42 shows to choose from. And then if I trim that down to shows I care about, we're left with 21. And it's a pretty impressive 21, with some of them being Kings of the Decade appearing together. Continuing on to 1985, we get 30 new series premiering, again with some of the decade's most amazing shows. This was a strong contender last video, getting the silver medal. Stepping back to see the big picture, we get 57 freaking shows. Talk about spoiled for choice around this time. Let me separate the wheat from the chaff though and see what's left. There you go, 32 shows that I personally have an affinity for, and a very nice 32 indeed. That's going to be a hard group to top. Let's keep going. Here's our premieres from '86, the year that took 5th place last ranking, giving us a set of another 30. Fewer of those heaviest hitters of the decade, but still nothing to scoff at. The broader view has 56 series for us through the year, and it's still looking like a healthy lineup. I see a couple of glaring losses like Robotech, but overall, not bad at all. Out of those 56 were a respectable 33 that really matter to me, and that again is a really strong lineup of cartoons. '87, which was my previous winner, brings 30 more premieres to the table, tying with both '85 and '86 for the most of the decade. As I said in the previous ranking, a significantly larger percentage of these new shows meant quite a bit to me personally, but that's for premieres. Let's see how the whole year looked overall. Well, that expanded the lineup to a decade-topping 64 series. So if volume were the sole metric for this ranking, we'd have a winner right here. Again. But we're not just talking volume, so breaking down just the series I care about gives me a somewhat more manageable 27, which is fewer than the previous year. That's an interesting twist. Heading into '88, which was formerly 6th place, we start seeing the number of premieres tapering off and get back down to 21. Still a decent lineup here though, with a couple of my personal favorites, but let's see the full year. Well, there's a total of 54 when we look at the whole roster, which is pretty good. Narrowing that down to the shows I care about again leaves me with 23 series for the year. Not bad, but definitely smaller than the last couple, and we'll have to see if anything on it's significant enough to me to bump it up the list. And we'll finish out this look with my previous 7th place, 1989. The decade kind of fizzles to an end here with only 16 premieres, but we still have some gems in that reduced volume. Looking at the full set bumps it up to 36 though, which is still fairly impressive. There are quite a few great carryovers in there too. Let me go ahead and trim this one down to the series I care about, and that leaves me 22 to close the decade out with. Pretty decent, but I only see a few instances of decade royalty on there. Think that'll change the ranking? Let's go ahead and see. Probably unsurprisingly, I'll go ahead and keep 1982 at the bottom of the list. The rest of the decade, when taking this broader look, gets a little tougher to rank though. In the number 9 slot here, I think I'll have to put 1981. There wasn't much new that impressed me in the year, and some of the best shows of 1980 didn't carry forward. In 8th place, I'm going to go way off course and put 1983. When I was ranking years on premieres, this one carried a lot more weight. In this group, though, almost all of the year's best appear in other years as well, and with an expanded lineup, so I'm knocking it down here. Sorry, Thunderbirds 2086. Next, in 7th place, I'll go with 1980. Adding Star Blazers and Battle of the Planets definitely helped bump this year up a little, but one of those appears in another year, so 1980 doesn't get as much extra traction as I thought it might. I'm putting 1984 in my next spot here for the same reasons I put 83 so low. Most of the year's best carry forward. I'm ranking it above 83 for the larger volume and the return of Star Blazers, but this is as high as I'll put it. 5th place this time around is going to 1989, as looking at it and 88 side by side, I just feel as though 88 had the slightly stronger lineup. So I'll go ahead and put that in at number 4 while we're here. And that brings me to my top 3, which are those awesome mid-decade years. I honestly think I'll have to knock 87 down a bit and put that one here this time around. There are a ton of shows from this year that I love, but TMNT is the only one that can go toe-to-toe with the decade's best. So that leaves me with almost a coin toss here between 1985 and 86. What this one boils down to is whether the new stuff in 86 was enough to offset the losses from 85. For new in 86, we got Macron 1, Galaxy Rangers, Centurions, Defenders of the Earth, Real Ghostbusters, Silverhawks, a whole lot of greatness. Comparatively, 85 had Transor Z, GoBots, Inspector Gadget, Robotech, Voltron, and a handful of others that it lost. For me personally, looking at those differences, I'll have to give the silver to 1985. I love so many of those 85 series, but we just gained more than we lost from that year to the next, and I can only hope Robotech forgives me for saying that. Not having that and Voltron in 86 was an especially big blow to the year, but man, that 86 lineup that replaced them was just epic. So there you go, a quick video looking at each year by the full rosters of on-air series. Did doing it this way change anyone else's ranking? Do you think ranking by years makes sense? Anyone want a future video ranking every series of the decade? Let me know your thoughts. Check back tomorrow for the first entry in the animated 90s series, hopefully, and this weekend for the alternating video. All the votes aren't in yet, but currently an American versus anime comparison is winning, so we'll see. Again, if you liked this video, hit the button and subscribe if you haven't already. Thanks for watching. Stay tuned and stay tuned, as in cartoons. Later.